Hello, my name's Philippa Waller.
My name is Penelope Waller, and we are two of the directors at 4D Human Being.
And welcome to the 4D Human Being podcast. What's it all about, Pen?
It's all about your personal and professional relationships. It's about your communication skills, how you lead, how you work and build teams, how you are looking after yourself and your well-being, and how you are much more at choice. What do we mean by that?
Well, sometimes we can get a little caught in patterns in life, and we can all be a little bit on our automatic pilot. So 4D Human Being is all about helping us get back to choice and being a four-dimensional human being. And your fourth dimension, of course,
is intention. So whether it's about your impact, your leadership style, your team dynamics, whether it's about your well-being, whether it's about your communication or your presentation skills, anything that involves human beings interacting with other human beings, 4D Human Being are here to help.
we're going to take a deep dive and look at some tools, insights, theories that are going to help you go from a 3D human doing to a 4D human being, so that you can happen to the world rather than the world simply happening to you. Okay, we are recording on, other than the dog holding my phone and recording me, I think we're covered. I don't even know what to say.
This is why people use podcast producers and engineers. This is why. Hello.
It reminds me of being an actor, and you just you just get led to where you need to go to, so that you can do the thing that you do really well.
Interesting. My middle daughter, I was talking to her last night about a project she's doing at school, and they are being taught how to record a podcast. And I sort of thought, what do you mean?
Do you need to be
you just talk? And then I remembered all the times that you and I have submitted files to Andy and Laura, and they're like, can't get the audio, can't get the visuals, the audio's terrible.
But
isn't that good that kids are getting taught out to make podcasts?
Yeah, because we need more podcasts in the world. Marina Hyde on the rest is entertainment jokes about this. There's no point even saying now, oh yes, because they do a podcast, because everybody does a podcast. So
we are amongst those people. Although I do have people say to us how much they love our podcast. So
So if you love this, please share with others. Welcome to episode 2 of Fall in Love with Presenting. It sounds impossible. It's not. We really genuinely do know and believe that we can move from anxiety to excitement, from loathing to love.
To loving. Well, I just read a stat, Phil, that in a recent survey, only 23.4% of respondents.
That's very specific stat.
It was really specific, which gives me some comfort that there probably were quite a few people in the sample. When you've got a decimal, it's a good sign. But 23.4% of survey respondents actually enjoy public speaking. So there's two things I would say about that. One is we therefore know it's possible, because there is a percentage that feel like that. But secondly, there is 76.6% of the population
who are miserable.
Really miserable.
Who you and I single-handedly in about 35 minutes are going to cheer up. That's our main goal. That's a lot of people. Because when we talk about that's a lot of people. So when we talk about presentations, we're not just talking about the TEDx, are we? We're talking about pretty much all of our days now. Online, hybrid, in the room, having conversations, having a team update, pitching, presenting, client. Online social media, it's almost like we should use the word presenting for living, really. Yes. Like there's a constant presentation of self.
That is absolutely true. A constant narrative and a constant kind of on show. 100%. Yeah. So this is part 2.
So the first, so if we remind ourselves of the title of what we're talking about overall, it's Fall in Love with Presenting, making presentations easy, engaging and enjoyable. And last time we talked about making them easy.
That wasn't an easy alliteration.
It wasn't an easy. Well, it's not easy when what you've written is in a different order to the title that you've given it. The brain has to sort of scramble to unpick. So in the last episode, we talked about making it much easier. And two of the tips we gave there was the super, super simple structure, the AB3, stop it. And the second one was a very different way to prepare. So preparing in a way that's going to make it much less stressful for you when you're actually giving that presentation or that piece of communication. So if you haven't checked out that previous episode, check that out, because that's all about, as you sort of lead up to it, preparing it, structuring it, writing it, not just writing it, of course, as we said, don't just sit at that desk.
No,
it's not a report. It's a presentation.
Indeed.
It's you.
Indeed. And so today
we're talking about making it more engaging. Now, arguably, this could be the most important one, because arguably, I'd rather it was really difficult for you as the presenter, but really engaging for me as the audience. So, I mean, that's obviously not what we're trying to sell in here. We're not trying to make it stressful for you, the presenter, but super fun for your audience. But if you had to pick...
Yeah, you probably would go for that. You probably would.
You'd probably want to make it engaging for your audience.
Yeah.
Even if it was a little bit tough for you to put together. If it was super easy for you to put together, but your audience is asleep, we haven't really gained any ground, have we?
It's fairly pointless. And in the above said survey that I was looking at earlier today.
Is that the only piece of research you're going to refer to throughout this whole episode?
It was quite good, though. I have to say, the list of things that people gave that meant they didn't find presentations engaging was so long that we'd almost have to take up the whole episode just to give that list. And it really struck me that people are very aware when they're watching other people of all the things that make it unengaging, or disengaging is a better word, I think. And yet,
I know where you're going with this. And yet, when you're standing on stage yourself with your 3,000 bullet points that you must communicate,
you seem to forget.
Suddenly, you seem to forget
how you responded to said survey.
To Bob, who got up and delivered you 3,000 bullet points in the space of an hour.
Suffice to say, Phil, bullet points was one of the items.
Listen, I am not a lover of... Well, I am a lover of bullet points, but only very, very few of them scribbled on a napkin. I'm not a lover... I'm not a lover of a lot of bullet points in a document
I do know that
simply
about you,
read out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to go to my next bullet point. I mean, please.
Well, that was another thing on
the
list. In fact, I might play boring presentation bingo with you. So all the things that you say throughout the podcast, I can tick off this survey.
Oh, yeah. Oh, great. Oh, I love it. Okay, I love it. So throughout the podcast, I've got to try and drop in elements that make boring presentations. Okay, so bullet points, ting, definitely. Lack of story. Oh, I didn't get a ting.
Yes, that was up there.
Yep. Oh, bingo. Okay, boring presentation, bingo. Ping. I'm going to try one more, and then we'll see if we can come at them throughout. Too much information.
Oh, Phil, too much data and text. That was actually top of the list.
Toppity top. I think I get a double bingo point for that. Okay, let's see if we can ping a few more as we go through. Laura, give me a bingo ping. Or what would be the traditional British? It's sort of like, what is it? Two fat ladies or two ducks or whatever it is.
I don't know if you'll get a full house, Phil. It's a pretty long list.
All right, pretty long list. Okay, let's see how we go.
Right.
Okay, so 2 ways to be super engaging in your presentations. Let's bear in mind, you've done your brilliant
You've done your easy
structuring.
Preparation.
You've done your easy structuring and easy prep. Easy prep being get on your feet and get it in your body. If you cannot risk kind of riffing it and making mistakes on your own in your living room or in your office where you're just practicing it, without anybody else watching you, then you will never, ever risk being a great presenter. You've got to be able to tolerate you riffing around, not quite getting it right, because that is what is going to help you get it brilliant. So get it in your body.
You love a riff, Phil.
I love a riff because, well, also the other thing about, I know we're sort of going back over the last episode, but I don't know if I said this, but the other thing about standing up and talking around your no more than 3 key messages, is that
AB3.
You'll discover things that you wouldn't discover sitting, just using your pen and your brain or your keyboard and your brain. Your body will offer you up, that sounds good, or that felt good, or that story, because your body will release all of these ideas and memory. Anyway, so use your body. So making it engaging, two things. One is where you focus your attention and your intention. And the second one is the interactive Q&A. The interactive Q&A.
The terror, the horror.
Yes, and it can save a presentation in the same way a good finale can save a terrible musical.
So true. The interesting thing about the Q&A is people I speak to about this, in equal measure, are frustrated and disappointed by the lack of engagement and participation, terrified and horrified at getting questions from the audience. And both those things are kind of coexisting together. And what we want to talk about today is how you can see the Q&A as an amazing, amazing gift.
Oh, really, we sort of want you to come on, give us a really exciting opening statement, give us your benefit of why we should listen. Three key messages, Q&A. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation, not a presentation. Totally. I go, oh, yes.
You love it. You love a Q&A if you're not on stage. You love a Q&A if you're on stage.
I love it on or off. I like asking questions and I like answering them. All good. Okay. So first one is where you focus your intention. Now, talk to me, Pen, about the unconscious versus the conscious and where the focus goes.
So again, we might get some presenting bingo in here as we go through. We'll have to see, although obviously I can't say them because that's a big cheat.
All right, but if I say them, you are going to be bingo chief.
I will give you the points. So we may not even be aware of this. When we are preparing and stepping on to present, we will have an intention, even if we don't ask ourselves the question, what's my intention? What's the purpose of doing this?
Which, from a 4D perspective, is not good.
We would always ask that
question.
You
need an intention.
But until you've had a 4D session or coaching, you may not ask yourself that question. So you've got all of your content, you're going through it, and then you'll get on stage and something may go through your head, but it may sit at a subconscious level.
Or nothing may go through your head.
And the things that tend to sit at a subconscious level in terms of our intention are things like, I don't want to screw this up.
Sure.
I want to do a good job. I want to get some good feedback after this. I just want to get through it.
Will they hate me? Will they judge me?
They hate me. I'm a terrible presenter. I don't want to make any mistakes.
This is being scored.
I don't want people to think that I'm not very good, or I don't know the answers, or I haven't got the information. So these are very often the things.
My boss is in.
My boss is in. I'm terrified. So these are very often the things that may or may not be consciously or subconsciously sort of running through us. And when we are coming from an intention from one of those things on that list, you can think of it as the foundation that sits at the base of your iceberg of presenting and is what we are then building our content and our delivery and all of that on top of.
Yeah.
And then don't be surprised if what you then end up giving to the audience is not the most engaging thing in the world.
Yeah, because you're basically building on fear and anxiety.
Yes, exactly. So we would always ask the question at 4D, the very first question, what is your intention of this presentation? So that you have got towards the audience. So you're flipping the focus onto the audience and you've got a very clear, solid foundation on your iceberg as to why you are doing this presentation and what you want the audience to go away thinking, feeling and doing. So what's the impact on them and how you're going to engage them. Very different to, I must include all of this content and I mustn't mess up.
Yeah.
Very
so
different.
your focus is, what do I want this audience to feel to begin with? And this is a shift from an unconscious focus of intention on yourself to a conscious focus of intention on your audience. And that shift means that it no longer matters if you forget something, you stumble over your words, the slides go down, the lights go out, or, somebody is taken out for an emergency at the back of the room. All of that is manageable because your focus is on giving your audience a really, really good, engaging time. And that is what they want above anything. They do not care if you forget a line. They do not care if you stumble over a word. What they care about is, are you going to engage them?
So I think I could give you a bingo point. So a lack of passion
Yeah, I'll take that.
I think you'll take that. I mean, it's slightly generous on my part, but I'm going to give it to you.
I think you owed me that after the strict rules from earlier.
Okay, I'm writing down lack of passion, tick.
So bear in mind that when we are anxious, when somebody has said to you, "Ooh, will you do that presentation?" Or, "Ooh, that presentation's coming up tomorrow." Or, "Ooh, how's that going? Have you prepared it?" And all of that adrenaline and cortisol that's rushing through your body, all of those thoughts and anxieties and thinking that is trying to not feel the fear, the thinking takes over, all of that automatic nervous system response. Bear in mind, that is your red flag, that's your sort of alert warning that if you don't actively do something about this, your unconscious focus of intention is, how the hell, I've just got to get through this and survive. And I don't really care about anything else. I don't really care if they're all asleep in the audience. I just want to come out and not have been eaten by my audience.
Yes.
Or, it's the old piece, isn't it? Around, you've got, whether it's 10 pairs of eyes or 1,000 pairs of eyes, your central nervous system is going to think, hang on a minute, it looks like I'm breakfast here.
And tick ting, you can have the dislike of nervous presenters.
Yes. Okay, good. Yes. Well, this is the thing. It's like comedians, isn't it?
Makes us feel uncomfortable. It's like a contagious impact on our nervous system.
If you've ever been to open mic nights or you've ever been to an improv show, the first 1-2 minutes, whether you've got an improv team or a comedian, your first 2 minutes is basically deciding whether you can relax and allow yourself to enjoy this, or whether you're going to sit there completely contracted in tension.
As an audience member.
As an audience member. Because you don't think they've got it.
Yeah.
Whereas the feeling of someone walks on and goes, "Hi, did you know 23.4% of people actually enjoy presenting?"
Your nervous system.
Talk.
Basically, your nervous system is mirroring the presenter's nervous system. So, yes, people say they don't like it. They don't like nervous presenters. Yes, because it's probably not very engaging to watch. But probably really the reason they say that is it's so uncomfortable for their own bodies. So
uncomfortable for them. And I just want to notice the paradox that as a speaker you're caught in. All your anxiety is going around, will they like me or will they hate me? And because you're nervous, they'll hate you. Because they won't hate you, but they don't want to feel nerves.
The clenched sort of toes in the shoes.
Clenched, yeah. So this is all about, how do you want your audience to feel? Now, this is really specific, and also it will change through your presentation. So you might shift your how you want people to feel. It's like a great film or a great story. You might start with exciting them, and then there might be a point where you really want to move them or intrigue them. But for now, let's just keep it really simple. You want them to feel something. Now, if your response to that is, "No, I don't want them to feel anything, I just want to get through it and get it done," they are going to feel something. Right now, it's up to you whether
they cannot switch off their limbic system for the period of your presentation.
Yeah, they cannot not feel. They will be feeling something. Now, it's up to you whether you want to leave that to chance or you want to steer that. So, one of our absolute core tools is focus your intention on your audience by putting a word in your head. Excitement, passion. Yeah. Do I get another bingo for that? Intrigued, supported, reassured, worried,
valued.
How do you want valued? Yeah,
anything.
Exactly. How do you want them to feel? Put that word in your head and let that inform how you start and continue your presentation. Because you could say 23.4% of people love presenting, and you could say it, 23.4% of people love presenting. What do you think of that?
Are you one of those lucky people?
Are you one of those lucky people? Or you could say 23.4% of people love presenting. How horrific is that? So you've got a choice at every turn. There's a big difference in story with I crashed into my neighbour's fence and I was delighted. I crashed into my neighbour's fence and I was terrified. We have to steer.
Yeah, steer the emotion.
Steer the emotion of the audience. So it also really releases you to go on to point 3, which we'll talk about in our next podcast. It becomes more enjoyable for you as well, because now you're engaged in an interactive experience, emotional experience with the audience. So, word in your head. What would you like them to feel when you walk on that stage? Put that word in your head and let that inform how you talk.
So the question I would ask myself, both prior to the preparation of my content, but prior to stepping on stage, is exactly that. What is my intention towards my audience and how do I want them to feel?
Lovely. Now, as I say, we can get more advanced black belt on this. You might start by making them feel excited and take them on a journey. When you go back to your structure, you can just make little marks, little notes of, for the first 5 minutes, excited, the next 5 minutes, intrigued, the last 5 minutes, anxious or activated to act, let's say, to do something. So you can decide, you can do a sort of sub map, an emotional map on top of your structural map. Okay, so that is where you focus your intention. So it's, what do we say? What's the saying? Get over yourself.
Is that the saying?
Yeah. Well,
no,
you know,
it's
when
true.
you sort of
yes, it's true.
Stop thinking about, stop focusing on you. You've done that bit. That's done.
Yes.
When you stand on stage, you sort of got to get over yourself and focus on the audience.
Even if it's not done. The time has gone.
Yeah, the time is done.
The time is done
exactly.
for the focus on self. It's done.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah, you've only got what you've got.
You've only got what you've got. However you're feeling about yourself and your presentation, it's done.
Yeah.
You've now got to flick the spotlight onto your amazing audience and think about, what do they need? How do I want them to feel?
Exactly.
You're done.
You're done. It's opening night of Hamlet at the Royal National. You never quite got round to learning the to be or not to be speech. But you've got to go on there and you've got to open that. We're on the battlements. We're going. We're off. You've got to deal with that later on. But for now, you've got to sell Hamlet. A quick word from us at 4D Human Being. If you're enjoying the show, please do click follow so that you can have the 4D Human Being podcast instantly in your feed. And we'd love it if you liked and reviewed us. Let us know what you think. Please do think of 1 or 2 people that you could share the 4D Human Being podcast with. Somebody who would really benefit from the content you're listening to right now. Back to the show. Yeah. Okay. Let's hope that never happens. Okay. Point 2 on making your presentations really engaging is the interactive Q&A. As we said, we could have done so many pieces on how to keep your audience engaged. But by the time you've got to the end, it's not too late. You can salvage anything with an interactive Q&A.
Yes. And I have just realised that I think I have to give you another bingo bonus point, because you did say earlier on in the podcast, just give them the opener, the benefit and 3 things, and then go on to the Q&A. And one of the things that people hate the most is too long when it could have been much shorter. So I think
brevity.
Yeah, tick for that. And yes, it's quite hard sometimes to convince people that the audience want less. Like, we know it when we're an audience member, we can feel it. And yet when we're on stage, it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
It feels like, true. No, they want this for 50 minutes. They want more. Why do we have such different beliefs depending on if we're sitting in the audience versus standing on the stage?
Well, it's a bit like, if you imagine an analogy of being a chef and all you're thinking is, they need another round of sticky toffee pudding here. I mean, they've had 5 courses, but I'm not quite sure they've got enough yet.
They've never tasted my sticky toffee pudding. So it doesn't matter if they're full. They've got to taste it.
They've got to eat it because I've made it. I'm really good at it.
Amazing.
I think it's amazing. They've got to eat it. The fact that they're laying there like sort of togaed Roman senators who are sort of, overwhelmed and having to purge themselves from the meal to even stand. No, but they need to have my sticky toffee pudding. So, rather than a Michelin star chef who goes, I'm going to give you a few really, really tasty morsels that you are never, ever going to forget. So you're Michelin star presenters.
You want to be the Michelin star presenter, exactly.
You want to be the Michelin star presenter. You do not want to be the open all day buffet, do you?
You really don't. We could talk about buffets, but we won't go into buffets. So yeah, you want to be the Michelin star of the presenting world, and the Q&As are potentially your best friend in that respect, both in terms of using them a bit more than just ploughing more content at the audience, and secondly, managing them well, which we'll talk about as well.
Exactly. On your first point, you can mop up a lot of the stuff. So let's say, for example, that you really did want them to give them your sticky toffee pudding. You wanted that to give them that piece of information, but actually you just didn't have space in the sort of Michelin structure that you've given yourself. Any question that you're asked in the Q&A, you can insert that piece of information into, because you can insert your toffee pudding at the end, because they might ask you about, your creme brulee, and you can answer them about that. But then you can say, and another thing is, you might want to know a bit more about the sticky toffee pudding.
Do you think we might have lost our audience?
But let's say they ask you about, next year's strategy. What's your main goal for next year's strategy?
You've forgotten to celebrate how amazing your team are.
Yeah. You will celebrate your team, or you want to talk about the numbers.
Yeah.
Just bolt that on the end of your strategy question. Exactly. So I just want to give a stat on this. According to surveys, 65% of people are more motivated by presentations that are interactive and feel more like a two-way conversation. It's a no-brainer. That's a high stat. So you want to make them feel involved. This is a conversation. It's turning a one-way presentation into an interactive conversation. It's also going to reduce the stress on you as a speaker.
You can have a bingo bing for boring content.
Okay, good. Boring content. So one of the key things here is to reframe the Q&A from the idea that it's some sort of test or exam into it's an interesting, interactive conversation.
It's the best bit.
It's the best bit. If you don't treat it like some sort of test
and terror,
that you have to know everything. And this goes back to, just to extend our analogy, being the, king or queen or president of a country. You cannot possibly know everything about all your departments. That is not your job. You can know some things, and other things you can either get from your audience, or you can say, I'll follow up with that. It's not a test, it's a conversation. Yeah. Okay, so even if you don't know the answer to a question, we're still talking about being engaging. We are still going to give our audience a good time and engage them. And the way we can do this is, whatever they ask you, even if they ask you a question that you're like, I have zero idea what that person just said, you can give the energy bounce. That's our lovely tip on this, that they say, oh, well, can you give me what was the what were the engagements on the website at 4 p.m. on the 25th of March 2024? And you're like, I clearly don't have the answer to that question. That's so specific.
I hate you.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like,
let me just have a look in all my piles of paper.
Bob should have put that in my presentation. I'll you start blaming or whatever it is, rather than, wow.
Yeah, what's the gift would be my question. So, maybe I don't know the answer. Maybe I feel like I've been put on the spot. Maybe I don't like the fact that this person has asked me this question. What is the gift? Well, the gift is somebody is interested enough to know what the engagement is with your website at a very specific time of day. What a gift. Like, you don't want an audience of people who don't care about your website or don't care about your marketing. You've got someone who does. There is the gift.
Absolutely. And
pick up that.
Exactly. Look for the gift. And even if you think that person is really being an a-hole and really trying to catch you out,
doesn't matter.
It's like somebody giving you, sort of, I don't know, like a horrible gift of a sort of, a one beat up shoe. And maybe their intention is, horrible gift, go on, take that. And you go, wow, that's like a piece of Tracy Emin art. Thank you.
Yeah.
That you just choose to take it as a gift. So with the website, what was the engagement at 4 p.m. on the 25th of March, whatever, 2024, you go, Wow. I love how specific that is. I'm wondering if you know something that happened at 4 p.m. on the 25th of March. Make it a conversation. And if they say, no, I just wanted to know what the engagement figures were. Well,
I love that you, and maybe this speaks to the rest of the company, are really keen for more data and more information about the specificity of our website engagement. And I absolutely love hearing that. And now that I know that, I'm going to make sure that...
Yeah. Let's make that available and see what information we can extract from it. Great. Come and see me after. Love it. Okay. Move on. So exactly that it's all about that energy bounce, that enthusiasm. In a way, it doesn't matter what they ask you. Get curious. It goes back to our work on the ego grid, shifting from defense to curious.
Yes.
Okay. So
I was going to say a couple of things on it. I mean, one is very often we don't leave time for the Q&A. It may be because we're nervous of it, but it may also be that we have so much content that we want to share with the audience. So the first thing we would say is really, really do leave some time for the Q&A. Even if you can only spare 5 minutes, do leave some time. It's very frustrating for an audience member if they have a burning question that they've been given no time. So that's the first thing. The second thing would be, exactly as we've just said, try and enjoy it. Try and see the questions as a gift, even if they feel really challenging. And thirdly, if you are nervous about the Q&A or questions that come throughout the presentation, which can also happen, if you're nervous about them because you feel they're going to derail the presentation, either by taking up too much time or taking you down a different path that you didn't want to go down, then we have a tip for that as well in terms of managing people and bringing them back. So if you feel like the conversation is going down in a direction that you don't want to go, a couple of things to look out for. The first one is be kind of kind to the audience member that's asked the question. The second thing we would offer, this is the big one, watch your eye contact. So if you're locked into eye contact with the question giver, they'll keep asking questions and keep you in dialogue. And if you want to move things on, give them a few seconds of eye contact, move away, give your answer to all of the audience, and then you've got much more chance of bridging back to your topic. So watch your eye contact on the Q&A as well.
Lovely. And I'm going to add one more thing in there because we haven't touched on the idea of saying, right, we're going to go to the Q&A now. Who's got a question? Tumbleweed. So there's lots of things you can do on this. So again, you want things in your back pocket that are going to make it, going back to our point one, going to make it easier for you. And our third point, more enjoyable. So a few things you can do on this. You can have prepped somebody in the audience or two people to have a question each. And if no one asks a question, would you be able to ask a question? You could either have planned some in advance or even in the spur of the moment say, okay, there's no question coming up now. There's a couple of questions that I have been asked recently, or I know that this question comes up a lot. So you can do that. You just take over and start the conversation. The other thing to do is remember, it's hard sometimes to speak up in a big room. So take a moment, make it even more interactive. I'm going to ask you to take 30 seconds now, turn to the person next to you and tell them one question that you would ask off the back of what I've just said.
Nice.
When they come back, you don't ask them for their question. You say, okay, could anybody here offer up an interesting question that was told to them, that their partner said? It's much easier for us, weirdly, to firstly speak up when we've got something that's already written down on a piece of paper or prepared, and secondly, when it's not our idea, it's someone else's. Those are often can be much easier.
Well, you could even say, if you've got tumbleweed, you could say, great, that gives me an opportunity to answer a question that I was asked earlier or last week or in the corridor. Yeah,
exactly. So those are our 2 tips on making your presentation more engaging. We wish you all the best.
I'm just going to finish off. Bingo. So a couple of things just to add that people really don't like, that makes it very unengaging for people. You've got a lot of them, Phil. Got to say you got a lot of them. Nearly a full house. One thing you didn't mention, reading off the slides. People really hate reading off the slides.
And scripts.
Yes, they really don't like that.
Oh, we've got an amazing tip. We'll do that at some point. We've got an amazing tip on how to cheat if you need to look at slides, but you don't look like you're reading off the slide.
We've got to do that now. We'll see.
We've got magical tricks.
Sounding dull or monotone. This is about the voice.
Yes, the voice.
So that's in there as well. And then I'm just going to add one more in. Many people do not have coaching for their presentation skills and public speaking. In fact, in the survey, 60% of respondents said they had not had any coaching or support with their presentation skills and public speaking. I'm like, well, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Call 4D. And actually on that, few things, get in touch with us. We'd love to help. We genuinely can make you fall in love with it, not just tolerate it, fall in love with it. Secondly, you can go onto our website and we've got a full 4D on demand series for presentation skills. And thirdly, there's a free level, 4D Essentials. It's a free level with lots of great tips and tools on presenting. So there is no excuse. We've got everything. We've got everything you need. We've got everything. We're like the dating agency for presenting. We're going to help you just make the most beautiful relationship with presenting. Okay,
we love it.
We wish you all the very best. Take care. Enjoy your day. Have fun. Say yes to the next presentation opportunity and go for it. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the 4D Human Being podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Do take on board some of the insights, tools and tips, because every time that you try something new to get back to choice, you are making a vote for the you that you want to become. And I love that phrase, Pen.
I do too. And please do share this episode with somebody that you know would really benefit from the lessons and learnings we've been chatting about today.
And of course, if you're interested in more from 4D Human Being, do get in touch. We run workshops, trainings, online, in person, conference events and keynotes. We've got the 4D On Demand platform for your whole organisation. And we do have a free Essentials membership where anybody can sign up for absolutely free to access some of our insights, tools and tips. So do get in touch with us if you'd like to hear more. We cannot wait to hear from you and to carry on the conversation.